You just got done watching the Reze Arc film and are wondering why exactly this film is referencing that one story you constantly read in pre-K? Well, this video will be breaking down the entire City Mouse and Country Mouse or Town Mouse and Country Mouse allegory in a deep and informative video you probably won't get anywhere else. Like, subscribe, and comment who is better, Reze or Makima. Now let's get into the pure genius that is the Country Mouse allegory. The City Mouse and Country Mouse allegory is solely based on Aesop's fable of the same name. For hundreds of years, this has become ingrained in American culture, but also simply culture around the world. It tells the simple tale of how the city mouse comes to see the country mouse. The country mouse goes to the city to eat all of the fine foods and dine in decadence. But when the city cat attacks them both, the country mouse is left yearning for the simplicity and safety of his humble country home. The themes are pretty obvious, and it is basically telling the reader to appreciate all they have now and live in the moment. But it can also be seen as an allegory to be authentic to yourself and not pretend to be something you are not. Like if you're not a country mouse, don't try to be the city mouse. Be you, and you will be much happier doing so. Now, let's quickly go through each scene in Reze Arc where this question of being the city mouse or country mouse is brought up. The real introduction to this concept is brought up when Reze and Denji sneak into a school at night to really just fool around and have fun under the glow of the moon. This is our first important bit of context to further help us understand the scene and give it deeper meaning. In media, the moon is often used to symbolize a kind of longing, romantic feeling, or in general, love. Reze and Denji pretty much pretend to be students here, making a bunch of dick jokes, swimming naked together, and confiding in one another their different experiences. The biggest moment which sticks out here is that Reze feels bad for Denji, who is only given the bare minimum in life: a bed, food, and a job. In other words, a very bleak existence. But because of Denji's simplistic upbringing and really not knowing any better due to his severe undereducation and poverty, does not understand that he is going through what for many would be an abject nightmare. So after they skinny dip at the school pool, it rains, and so they head back where, as the rain continues to beat down onto the school, Reze asks Denji the subject of today's video: the town mouse or the country mouse? Now, while the scene is happening, we get a dual perspective to Angel asking the same question to Aki. Angel is essentially here to explain what the story means simplistically to the reader and the viewer. They state the following: the country mouse gets to live in safety, but does not get to eat delicious food like they have in the city. The town mouse gets to eat delicious food, but runs a higher risk of getting killed by humans or cats. This is literally what the story means and the basis for which Chainsaw Man and Tatsuki Fujimoto perceive it as in its most general form. So now let's get into the breakdown here. We'll start by breaking down the Angel and Aki scene, since it has a lot of the foundation to the allegory within this arc. Angel says to Aki as the rain is pouring down that they would rather be the country mouse. But they are really unique because they have a perspective not represented in the original story. Makima caught Angel and forced them to come to the city to use them. I thought this was profound because it represents how odd Angel is when you think about them. They cannot touch anyone because they will drain their lives, and even then, they are still very complicated. Earlier on in the arc, Angel refuses to drain the life of a public safety devil hunter to spare him and give him a painless death. They explain to Aki that while they may look like an angel and my girlfriend, they are still a devil at heart. The weirdness of Angel is further on display as they are also shown to be lazy and have a sweet tooth for things like ice cream while relaxing. Overall, these two aspects show that Angel is someone who is very much at peace with their inner self and has already decided who they are going to be. Angel is really interesting in that while the other characters like Denji, Reze, or Aki seem to struggle to understand who they are in this allegory, he is a country mouse through and through. Their heart belongs with the country, and so they choose to pass on the dangers that Aki and other city boys like him would crave. It's a very simple moment for Angel, but one that fully describes the kind of person they are and how strange they are in a series like this. Everyone, really, if you think about it though, in the Reze arc is searching for something, Aki wants vengeance, which represents a kind of turmoil in his heart that can only be catered to with the harsh and dangerous life of the city. Another bit of context to keep in mind, though, is that what is happening right now in Tokyo is essentially a preamble to an apocalypse. Devils are overrunning the city after the Gun Devil, in a matter of seconds, wipes out a vast swath of the human population worldwide. The city is by all accounts the most dangerous locations on Earth, and so Aki's response is very much in line with what we've come to expect from the dark brooding Top Knot. Look, you. This isn't much to go on at first, but if we go back to the scene where Angel is eating ice cream, it is actually kind of simple. He just wants Angel to do the job he tells him to and get on with it. He doesn't have time for stories because he is dead set on vengeance and cannot see or doesn't want to see the true meaning behind their words. Yet. Later on in the arc, Aki pulls off one of the most impressive moments of the arc by risking his life to save Angel. And the reason is simple, and it is because he doesn't want to see other people die around him anymore. This is where I realize that Aki is by all accounts a country mouse, and it is plain to see how this is the case due to this moment. He tells Angel that if they are going to die, and if this really is just their time, then he wants them to do it somewhere else where he can't see it. Now let's go back a bit to Season 1 of Chainsaw Man. In Season 1, Aki is taken in by Himeno to essentially teach him how to live as a public safety devil hunter. But by the end of her life, she saw in him something special. That he is more or less just some kid who shouldn't be in this line of work and should seek his true happiness. That his search for vengeance is leading him down a wrong path, and she is trying her absolute best to save him from the outcome that she's seen happen countless times. One of the first lines out of Himeno, which is so just chilling in this series, is to Aki when she tells him that he is the brooding type, and when they met, she already knew what his goals and aspirations were just on the way he looked and carried himself. And she was right about it. This is because she has had plenty of partners like this, and they all play out the exact same, each and every time. This is further evident after Himi's death when Aki receives the letter from her sister. This entire time, she was desperately trying to protect and steer him into any other direction where he could be truly happy. However, the main reason is simple, and why Aki and Angel are such a great pairing. Aki as a child lived in the countryside until the Gun Devil attack, which has since motivated his revenge. This is basically the same thing Angel went through when you get down into the finer details. Both Angel and Aki were captured by something and forced to come to Tokyo when they didn't want to. Angel was captured by Makima, Aki was captured by vengeance. Both Aki and Angel were taken in and used by Makima as tools for her goals, and both of them didn't want this. Aki didn't want his family to die and seek vengeance, and Angel didn't want to leave the countryside. They are essentially both victims with different circumstances, but nonetheless, victims. And because of that, through context clues, we can determine through Angel and Himi that Aki is indeed a country mouse. So now let's get into Denji and Reze. Reze asks Denji what he would be, and giving it some thought, he says he would be the city mouse or the town mouse. Now this surprises Reze, who sees the country mouse as someone who has it way better because the country mouse has peace. Keep that in mind. Which we know is true because of Angel and Aki as a child. But Denji's reasoning is rather interesting because he represents the general meaning of this story. He simply says that the city has better grub and seems much more fun and stimulating. All he cares about is food and fun, and there really is nothing wrong with that. This ends up with a festival date with Reze, which is the dream of many, I am sure, but keep all of that in mind because the way Denji is initially presented in this scene seems to be about that general meaning of the original story. We'll see if this is true. And as we go further, this all checks out, and it makes sense because Denji, by all accounts, seemed to not have lived in the city as a child. Much like the others, he lived in the countryside. We know this based on Chapter 1 when we see that Denji's house is way out there, but what makes this different is that Denji is almost nothing like the country mouse because he has been deprived of all of his peace, but doesn't seem to seek it. This is an inversion of the allegory, because Denji is a country mouse, but the city to him represents life and vitality. Food and fun is a simple answer, but Denji is simplistic, and we have to go a bit deeper to really uncover what he is saying. That is the beauty of simple characters like him. They are deceptively full of depth. So let's break down some of the deeper symbolism behind this. Food and fun are symbols of life. Without food, you have death, and without fun, you have nothing to feed your head. Either way, in both cases, you are starving. Essentially, Denji has been starved, literally and figuratively. And so when Denji tells Reze he wants to be the town mouse, it is more due to his lack of experience, and he feels this instinctual need to find life in the city because he has been starved of it. This is often why many people come to the city to begin with as well. And I'm sure some of you watching this video right now either want to escape to the city or already have. It's just a human desire we all have to live a life full of experiences and live it to the fullest. For some, though, it is a necessity, and that is what it is for Denji in this case. Being so close to death in his life at basically all points of it, he is craving life. Now, for Reze, it is the same fundamental instincts, but in many ways a little bit of the opposite. Reze wants peace because, as we come to find out later on at the end of the arc, Reze was a Russian soldier from her own tall tale. Back when the USSR was still around, the Soviet mothers told their kids that if they were to misbehave, that there is a secret room in the army's ammunition storage for kids who don't have their parents. They have no freedom and they cannot go outside. They are experiments until their very last breath. But this story is true and not a fable or a tale. It exists, and Reze is from that very ammunition storage. She is a Soviet experiment. And because of this, Reze wants the peace of the country mouse and desperately craves for it. She wants freedom, and to her, freedom isn't the big city, it is the small countryside. But it's quite interesting. Reze, at the end of this arc, is about to board a train to Yamagata. Yamagata, if you are not aware, is a prefecture of Tohoku, which is sandwiched between the Sea of Japan and the mountains. In other words, it's the countryside. She was train-bound to the country, but at the last moment, she ditches the train and heads to the cafe, because Denji promised to run away with her. And as she is about to arrive, she is ambushed by Makima with the help of a reluctant angel who refuses to bring Aki along with him. And as she bleeds out, Makima holds her as she asks herself why she didn't kill Denji when they first met. And the reason? Because she never went to school either, as the arc ends with Angel pondering the fable's meaning, and Denji, who is left with a backpack and a bouquet of flowers for someone who is never coming back. To him, she has abandoned him, not truly ever knowing what has really happened to her. For Reze, it is quite simple. If we go back to the school scene, Reze simply states that the country mouse has it better because of peace. She specifically states, nothing beats peace. Taking in all of this together, it is very apparent to anyone what this really means. Reze may be the country mouse, but to her, she found her peace in Denji and wanted to run away with him. Because without Denji, her peace would be sour and lonely. She needed him to complete her fable. The country mouse truly isn't at peace without her country boo. That was her truest desire, to find someone who could bring her the peace she needed. The town mouse and country mouse, or city mouse and country mouse, whichever you prefer to use as its title or synonyms, through Reze is a story of finding love. The arc essentially becomes a secret tragic love story of what was actually meant to be, but never could because what happens at the end of the fable. Let's go back to that story. The dangers of the city cat scares the country mouse into going back into the countryside to enjoy their peace. In this instance, the city cat is none other than Makima. This is why she gives this story about her going to the countryside to kill rats at the end. Rats are the prey of cats, and to quote Heisenberg, she is the danger, and she is the one who knocks at the door. Now, this is important to further explain and break down, and I'm not going to do it in this video because I already did it. in my video where I explained why Makima cried on their movie date. We go into fine detail as the movie which made Makima cry is a real-life Soviet film called Ballad of the Soldier from 1959, and I watched it, and we dissected every part of the film to explain the meaning of Makima's character and the ending of the Reze Arc and its many interpretations beyond just what was shown in Ballad of a Soldier and the Reze Arc film. Overall, though, Reze Arc is one of the best films that you can see right now due to its extensive uses of adaptation, allegory, and thematic symbolism. And by the end of this film, it will leave you wondering, are you the town mouse or the country mouse? Click on this video for my Makima analysis, and on the left for my Chainsaw Man channel where we cover the manga every Tuesday. If you made it to the end, drop a pair of orange hearts and join my heavily moderated Discord server. We are chill there. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.